So you're telling us about this very interesting instance regarding TikTok, or is it Instagram influencer?
A skit maker.
The skit maker.
Yeah,
So many things they
Trinity,
call themselves.
and
Trinity
how
Guy.
he got Trinity Guy, and how he got arrested due to sexualizing a child.
Yeah.
And how that has,
In his skits.
in his skits, and how that has delved into so many other issues, and how people are now even talking about it from different angles.
A little backstory.
Yeah.
What he had done a couple of weeks ago, not up to 2, was he put up a skit where it involved the use of a child, and he asked the kid very sexual questions regarding his member. It was deemed very unfit by a lot of people who complained about it, even asking him if he was a pedophile, and this caught the attention of authorities who have taken it on, and he has been arrested.
Yes,
Am I correct?
yes, that's the backstory.
Yes.
So basically, we're just taking a look at how child sexualization, even the pornography angle, has now seemed to entrench itself into society, especially how worrisome that is. I don't know if you saw the skit. I couldn't bring myself.
I watched the skits, and to be honest, it was... I think he really needs to be looked into, to be honest.
Psychiatric.
He personally needs to be looked into. And this also brings to mind, in April as well, there were 2 other skit makers who did a similar skits in the same context. And because of the backlash from the public, they had to pull down the skits immediately. And then they apologized to the public that that was not their intention. And funny enough, theirs actually had to do with a 2-year-old child. The Trinity guys, the girl that was involved was about, I think she's over 10 years old. I think it is time that this is looked into critically. And I'm not just talking about those 2 skit makers, I'm talking about the skit industry or the comedy industry, you know, entirely. Because we see situations where women now, children, are being sexualized, are being objectified. It is demeaning, and it causes for, it sort of promotes violence, sexual violence, because to be honest, these things happen. So even if at all you want to bring it to the fore, I think they should try to maybe, I don't know, collaborate with, you know, activists or advocates in this regard
and
to
do
see
it
and do it properly. Their content needs to be properly evaluated, reassessed, whatever it is that they need to do. It needs to be properly looked into. Do your research, because if you're bringing it to the fore, it has to come from a place of awareness, of also letting people know, sensitizing the public on these organizations that cater to sexual violence that affect women and children.
Now, I recall some months back where we talked about a similar skit in which this guy, supposedly his landlord, was interested in his...
It's one I just mentioned. It's the one with the 2 guys, with the 2 guys involved.
And all the drama that...
the same one I made reference to earlier
followed it. And so I find it worrisome. I know some of you have really interesting private lives, things that go on behind closed doors, but perhaps you need to keep those things behind closed doors. Or you teach something from whatever it is you're doing. I remember when we were watching that particular skit, we were all waiting. Okay, what's going to happen? Is it that the person got punished? Is there a lesson?
Nothing.
The idea of doing movies and skits are now so flat. They just feel, okay, let's just do something. Let us trend.
So this is what happens when you have an industry
beyond trending.
that
What message are you passing across?
This is what happens when you have an industry that's not regulated. And by far, you cannot regulate whatever you have online content. There has been plenty of approaches, plenty of attempts to kind of like regulate it. I think there was one on taxes for skit makers and all, which I don't know how far that has gone. But if you can't regulate these content, you have these kinds of issues. Self-regulation is another thing. If we've had this kind of an instance many times, there have been comedians who have made certain lewd jokes or comments about rape or sexualizing children, and they've been either punished for it or they've been frowned at by the public. If I'm a skit maker, why can't I take this as a sample and use that in my own design for skits? Regarding the individuals now and their level of awareness is a totally different thing, because not many people know that these things that they're actually perpetrating are bad. They just think it's normal conversation I'm having with a guy, very lewd and nasty, and I can mass produce it, or I can put it out there for mass of people to see, then that is wrong. When you have maybe and in an attempt to regulate it, is this: if you have a certain number of people, or if you've gone above a certain number of people who follow you, perhaps you should be licensed in some way, perhaps maybe and also made aware of the fact that you have a mass of people following you. You can't say certain things.
Those who
if
do
these
the
things
most
come up in your
damage.
post, you will be sanctioned.
Those who do the most damage do not have so many followers.
This guy apparently has
many
about
of them are doing
68,000.
many of these things just so as to garner these followers.
Ghana followers.
So it's a public thing, see?
So
it's like people sitting down.
If you say that, okay, you need to regulate people, it should be a general thing. There are people who start this thing from 300 followers. It does not depend on the number of followers you have. My problem with this is children are watching. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. There was a time when your parents would tell you, do not put on the TV. Even when you do, the content you see on TV were regulated. So you weren't exposed to certain things. But these days, children have access to mobile phones. The first thing you want to do is put parental control, right? But then some of these
They're smarter than you
pedophiles
think.
are also, no, even the pedophiles, the predators, they are putting certain hashtags that are children related.
Yes.
So those children will watch content they are not supposed to see.
Mary, this even brings to mind.
There was a day I picked up the phone, just looked through YT Kids, YouTube Kids, and I was shocked at what I was seeing.
Oh, my darling.
Content children should not see. And it's YouTube Kids, but the way they named those content,
You wouldn't know.
you wouldn't know. And so your child is exposed.
You know, this also brings to mind a particular Nigerian that was caught, I think, a few months ago in the UK for pedophilia as well, because he said, according to him, he didn't know that they were minors, and he was arrested 3 months after he got into the UK. So I think this also brings to mind the role as parents as well in monitoring the content our kids, and information that they have on social media. Because right now, a lot of kids are own phones. There's even the peer pressure where if you don't own a phone, you don't belong, you're not a big girl, whatever it is. But it is important for parents to should closely monitor what is going on in your child phones. There are a lot of connotations, there are a lot of innuendos. You need to, ask questions, probe those tones. There are a lot of undertones in those conversations that are being had.
It has gone beyond parental control. Parents are trying.
Mary, I think
you
you're
put
absolutely correct.
PG on your TV. You put PG, but even on the bus. How did many children learn to sing some songs?
I think
the
you're
bus
absolutely
driver
correct,
is playing songs that
Mary.
you could never play at home. And then the children are listening to it. And then you hear your child singing a song that you've never
Hence
played.
why I
but the
said
child
that
is
it's
hearing
no
it
longer
outside.
just a social media thing, it's actually a cultural thing.
It's
I
not a
think that
cultural thing. We've normalized
there's a lot of
it.
work that we need to do as a people, as a
normalized.
culture.
Yes.
Note that these things are no-go areas, especially when it comes to minors, so that we have a social consciousness. I think that's the base. That's
Social
the
Even
consciousness.
music.
Social
Even music.
consciousness, very important.
You check out some songs. I
Music
remember when
videos.
230,
Music
230,
videos.
When it came out, we listened to it top to bottom. Not one nasty word. We did not have to edit it. But how many such popular songs are left that we won't have to edit? Almost every song has to be edited these days. It's insane.
Like Mazino said, I think this brings to mind, we need that, there has to be that social consciousness. And we have a lot of work to do. With this conversation, we can't exhaust it here because there's just so much to be said about it. But